Hey guys, welcome. It's Tuesday, Transformation Tuesday. I'm excited to come at you live here on Facebook with the cool story that has really made a huge difference in my life, and I hope that it'll make a difference in your life. It's been one of those lifelong stories that I've always remembered. And it was something I heard many years ago, long time ago, and it was something where I don't even remember exactly where I was when I heard it, but the story's never left me. And it's the pumpkin story, and it has to do with the early days in the early American history when Native Americans were hunting for ducks. They didn't necessarily have guns at the time, so they had to use a different methodology of hunting ducks. And one of the ways that they did it is that they would go into a stream, and the stream had a small body of water that the ducks would swim in, and the ducks would end up coming to the point where they would all congregate there, and the Native Americans knew that. So what the Native Americans did was they went and they took pumpkins and they would go upstream and they would put these pumpkins in the stream, and they would end up having the pumpkins float down the stream. And when the first time that they would do it, the ducks would end up flying up, and they would be scared of the pumpkins, and they would fly up high. And then once they saw that the pumpkin had passed and gone downstream, they would come back and ascend down on this body of water. And so the Native Americans would take another pumpkin and they would put that pumpkin in the water, and the stream would end up carrying it down to the body of water where the ducks were just calmly paddling around. And they would see the pumpkin coming and they would just begin to fly up. And this time, because they'd seen it before, they didn't fly as high. And so they become a little more comfortable with it. The third time that they saw the pumpkin would float down, and it actually hadn't harmed them the previous two times. And so they just allow it to kind of, pass by, maybe even bump up against them and continue on downstream. But the fourth time was a different time. The fourth time, the Native Americans would take the pumpkin and they would create a hole, and they would clean out the pumpkin, and they would create an opportunity for eyes so that they could see and breathe. And they would put those pumpkins on their head, and they would get in the stream, and they would float downstream to the body of water where all of the ducks were just there, never feared anything that was coming their way because they had seen those pumpkins many times before, and they became the hunted pumpkin. And that's the story, is that the Native Americans would float right up to the ducks, and they would grab a hold of their legs, and they would end up capturing the duck because they simply became comfortable with the pumpkin, or complacent. Many times I've shared before in the videos is that complacency is the act of becoming self-satisfied, unaware of possible dangers. So my question to you today on Transformation Tuesday is, what have you gotten complacent with? What have you seen come at you where at one point it caused you to act, that it no longer causes you to act? Is it your blood pressure? Is it the fact that maybe you've taken one more medication, or that you've allowed one more year to go by where you didn't get to a healthier spot? Or is it relationships? Have you seen yourself becoming more and more guarded in relationships where you're not spending as much time, you're not giving back as much as you'd like to give? And maybe you're finding yourself becoming more and more comfortable in an environment that is not your very best. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your relationships with your spouse or your kids or your grandkids, and you've promised over and over that you're going to do something, but you haven't done it. You've just gotten comfortable. You've got complacent with the fact that you just don't have what you really want, and therefore the consequences are coming. You may not get captured by anyone. You may not even die because of it. You could. There are some consequences that are quite dire. But maybe it's the fact that you have significant regrets because you didn't act when you saw that pumpkin coming. You heard the alarm go off when your doctor said, your blood pressure is a little higher. You're suffering from prediabetes, and today is National Diabetes Day. 1/3 of Americans are struggling with some form of prediabetes or diabetes, type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Many of us have seen the pumpkin come down the stream, but we haven't necessarily acted upon it. We haven't done something to protect ourselves or really been concerned because we saw the writing on the wall or the pumpkin floating down. So I hope that the pumpkin story has impacted you today, and I hope that you take action and it brings you great value in your life. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.